You are listening to Small Business Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives small business owners the straight talk on productivity, time management, business systems, leading your teams, strategic decision-making, and mindset. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the productivity specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Small Business Straight Talk podcast. Today is episode 324, How to Stop Micromanaging Your Team. If you're a small business owner who wants to learn effective business strategies, improve time management, and elevate productivity to maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. We're going to be diving into the root causes of why you're micromanaging your team, so you can empower your team to grow in their roles and invest more of your time on your own high-value activities. Before we jump in, I want to invite you to take my Next Level Business Owner quiz. Take our quick 3-minute quiz to find out what's most holding you back from taking your business to the next level. And once you've identified what's most holding you back, you'll get a curated playlist of the podcast with specific episodes that address that challenge. What could be more productive than getting a customized playlist so that you can focus on overcoming your challenge? Head on over to amberdelagarza.com/quiz. Again, that's amberdelagarza.com/quiz. And now, let's get to the straight talk. Let's start off with, what is micromanagement? According to Wikipedia, micromanagement is the management style characterized by such behaviors as excessive focus on observing and controlling subordinates and obsession with details. Look, micromanagement is a form of leadership that produces results in the short term, but it's basically meddling in your team members' duties and responsibilities far more than necessary and causes long-term problems in your business. How might micromanagement be showing up in your business? Let's dive in. How about telling employees exactly how tasks should be done, leaving no room for creativity or initiative? Are you not being clear about the outcome, but really micromanaging every little step to get to the outcome of the delegated task? Continually monitors the behavior and activities of employees to see what they're working on. Like obsessively, like over your own tasks and responsibilities, you're stepping in and wanting to monitor every step of your employees' work. How about focusing on unimportant details? And I get it, to you, potentially you're telling yourself these are incredibly important details. But if you can zoom out and take a step back, is the truth that these are really not that important in the big picture? How about asking to be informed of every detail of a task or project, meaning over-communicating or requiring your team members to over-communicate status updates? How about revising work that's been turned in, but you're not using it as a teachable moment? This is a common one that I see with my clients, is that I hear them say, I have a team member, I see the quality of their work, the work is completed, and then I go and I fix it, or I redo it, or I tweak it, some variation of that. And I began asking the question, well, once you've done that, have you given feedback to your team member? Have you used this as a teachable moment? And unfortunately, more often than not, I hear, no, I just fixed it so I could get it done and move on. And this really is a form of micromanagement because you're stepping in to finish or edit someone else's quality of work, but not using it as a powerful teaching and learning moment. How about being asked to be CC'd on every single email? Wow, that's just way overwhelming. But you may be doing that because you want to know what's going on in every single aspect of your business. How about being rarely satisfied with your team members' work? Leaving no room for your team members to make errors, but learning from their mistakes is typically a huge part of growth. All of which, various ways this could be showing up in your business, and this is just a short list. All of these ways overall lowers team morale, stifles growth, problem solving, decision making, creativity, and innovation because they're not being empowered to do so. It definitely increases turnover. You lose skilled team members who do not like to be micromanaged, that do not like not being trusted that they are a professional and can do good work. You certainly have less time and energy for your own high-value activities because you're investing your precious time into somebody else's tasks and responsibilities. And you may be wasting money completing work that you've already hired a team member to complete, i.e., not delegating it in the first place, keeping it on your plate, even though there's a role filled in your business for those types of tasks and projects. Based on how it's showing up, what is micromanagement really? Well, I can sum it up to this. It's riding your team members' ass, and I got to tell you, it's not helping them, it's not helping you, and it's certainly not helping the business. Here's an analogy. If you're riding your team member with unrealistic expectations and deadlines when they're newer in their role and they're still developing their skills or learning how to perform a new task, you're not allowing them to grow in their role. They don't need that pressure on their backs as they're learning, as they're growing, as they're settling into their position. Imagine a student driver that you got behind. And sure, at first it's completely annoying until you get close enough and you realize there's a big sticker that says, "Please be patient, student driver." That student driver is learning the skill set to drive. They are learning to be comfortable as a driver. They are probably being a bit overcautious because they don't want to make a mistake. Now, can you see that in a new team member? What if you just needed a sticker that says, that says new team member? Unfortunately, sometimes we bring people in and we have such high expectations right out of the gate that we don't actually acknowledge that even if they're a skilled professional in the role that you hired them for, they still need to get comfortable. Here's another example. Imagine how you drive on your normal route every day, to and from the office, to and from getting the kids, to and from the grocery store. I bet you drive differently when you go out of town and you're in a new place. You've never driven before. You don't know the streets, you don't know the signage, you don't know where you're going. That's the same thing with a new employee. Even if they're skilled, even if you're a skilled driver, your driving habits are probably different when you get into a new town. So, micromanaging on the onset, writing them, being over controlling is not going to help that team member feel comfortable or settle into their position. But let's be honest, micromanaging is not actually the problem. This is the key to this entire episode. Because you probably are aware that you have micromanagement tendencies or a leadership style. And you may think to yourself, okay, I'm going to stop micromanaging, or I should stop micromanaging. But how do you actually stop micromanaging? Well, the truth is that you have to get to the root cause of why you're micromanaging your team members, i.e., riding their ass. And I have found that this is different for different people, but to really solve for micromanaging, you have to get to the root cause and solve for that. In most cases, it's a you problem, not a team member's problem. which sometimes you can get into this loop of micromanaging and blaming other people or blaming a team member. And the truth is more often than not, it is certainly a you problem. It has little to do with the quality of their work or competence and more to do with your underlying issues as their leader. You might feel the need to control aspects of the team's work and decision-making to an extreme degree, more than necessary or healthy for a usual working relationship. And I'll be honest, sometimes it's going to be for your entire team. Or maybe you find yourself micromanaging with your first hire. Or maybe you find yourself micromanaging with one particular team member. Or even you find yourself micromanaging in a specific role in your business, but relinquish that kind of control and micromanaging over other areas of your business. Isn't that interesting? Because if you truly identified as a micromanager, but it wasn't the same with everybody and every role in every situation, then it's truly not an identity, but rather situational. And so let's get to the root cause of why you are micromanaging. Could it be lack of trust? Like specifically lack of trust with a specific team member, or lack of trust in general that anybody on your team has your back, can do it as well as you, that can, make sure things don't fall through the cracks. Is there a lack of trust? Next, could it be because you had crappy onboarding? Meaning you hired somebody and it was trial by fire. Just get them in, you're busy, and they have to get it and they have to get it and run. Well, sometimes crappy onboarding leads to crappy management because now you don't trust that they know what they need to know. But really, this can be traced back to not successfully onboarding a team member. How about not trusting your systems? If you have all your systems and processes and SOPs in your head, and then you make a hire, potentially that is affecting how you're leading a team member because you don't trust your systems. You don't know if they're battle tested for somebody else to use. And you certainly are probably being challenged with communicating those processes and systems and SOPs to new team members. How about just generally being worried that the delegated work will not be completed on time, completed correctly? Maybe you don't trust your ability to confidently delegate work in a complete way that the person that needs to do it has everything that they need to do the work. How about this one? Now, this was an interesting one that came up as I was writing this episode, but this is one that I actually see common and I don't think is talked about enough. I find that some business owners micromanage when they hire for a position that they filled, meaning they're hiring for a role that they are skilled at and they have been doing in their business for quite some time. And they micromanage not because they don't have trust for the new person, not because they don't think the new person is skilled, but because you haven't actually identified your own new role in the business. So you've hired to claim back time, to buy back time. But did you take the time to determine what are you going to do with that time? And if you haven't determined what you're going to do with that newfound time, it gets wasted away micromanaging a position that you're incredibly comfortable with. Because what's uncomfortable is figuring out how you can best serve the company in new ways. And outside of being uncomfortable, it's quite difficult to do that if you haven't taken the time to clearly identify what is the best way for you to serve the business and fill your time so that you are not smothering the person that you hired to come in and actually give you back time. Perhaps the underlying reason that you are micromanaging is your ego. You literally feel like you are the best person to complete a task. You truly believe that you and only you can do it. and yet you hired. And so have you really dealt with that underlying belief and ego that you are the only person in your business or in this world that can do the job that you have been doing? And then lastly, is the underlying reason that you're micromanaging is because you had a bad hire. Look, even if your employee is not performing as expected, even if the skill set doesn't match the role as anticipated, you could get in a loop of saying, I'm micromanaging them because of their behavior or lack of skill set. But the truth is, this is a you issue. You made a bad hire. And there's power in that, because if that's the underlying reason, if you find yourself micromanaging one person or one role, then perhaps you need to really look at, what is this a good hire? Now, this is a difficult one for small business owners because, again, I'm going to go right back up the list I just shared with you, is that you may think, oh my gosh, I did make a bad hire. But I first want you to ask, do you have processes that they can follow? Did you onboard them correctly? Are you giving them the tools, resources, and time that they need? And if you haven't done that, don't jump so quickly to that they're the wrong hire. However, if you have done those things, and sometimes plainly the writing's on the wall that they're not a good fit, then take accountability for the bad hire, because you sticking it out and turning into a leader that micromanages is not serving anyone. So this leads me to how to stop micromanaging your team. First, recognize that you are micromanaging. Take ownership of that. 2, identify why you are micromanaging, right? Get to the root cause. This takes going back to the root causes we just discussed. 3, address and correct the root cause of why you're micromanaging. Focus on that, because I have never met a leader or a business owner or anyone that has identified as a micromanager and then said, I'm just going to stop micromanaging, and thus stopped micromanaging. It's not how it goes. So here's the tools. Find out the reason why you feel the need to micromanage, and let's focus on that. Once you do that, you will be able to shift your time and energy from micromanaging your team to focusing on your own high-value activities, which includes developing and leading your strong team. In my next solo episode, episode 324, it will be a continuation of this one, in which I dive into the 5 steps to developing a strong team instead of micromanaging them. So make sure you tune in and don't miss that episode. I have loved having you listen to Small Business Straight Talk podcast, and I sure hope you found today's conversation about micromanaging to be insightful and valuable. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. So, are you a micromanager? Can you just commit to taking action on step number 1, and that is to admit that you have micromanaging tendencies? If that is you, then I ask you to take the time, do the work to get to step 2 and find out what is the underlying reason. Identifying the underlying reason and solving the underlying reason to micromanaging are the exact types of topics that I work with my private one-on-one coaching clients with. If you want support, coaching, and guidance to solve this in your business, then we should talk. To learn more about my private coaching and to book a discovery call, head on over to amberdelagarza.com/coaching. Again, that's amberdelagarza.com/coaching. If you are new here, welcome. Thank you so much. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss another episode of Small Business Straight Talk. And if you've been here for a while, I would love for you to share this episode with another business owner. Now, You can share it. You don't need to say, hey, I know you micromanage, but maybe there's this episode or another episode that you think that business owner would find valuable. I would appreciate you sharing it. So that's my straight talk for today. Until next time, have a productive week.